In this module, we are going to understand research as a process. When you talk about process, that means there is a sequence to events which are occurring. Take for instance, A followed by B, followed by C, and so on. In a research too, there is a process. Take for instance, we look at the qualitative research process. In a qualitative research process starts first with acknowledging the viewpoint of the researcher or the social self. Why? Because his or her research output should not be influenced by the thought process or the beliefs of the researcher. A qualitative study, the first step is acknowledging the social self. Then comes adopting a perspective, whether I am taking a feministic perspective, whether I am taking a criticalist perspective, or am I taking a position like a pragmatist. Then we design the study. This is where the research design comes in, whether it's a grounded theory study, whether it's an ethnographic study. And then we go down to collect the data in terms of defining who is our participant, how many participants, what would be the forms of data collection. Will it be singular or multiple ways of data collection? Then we go to analyze the data. In analyzing data, since it is a qualitative study, the data would be non-numeric. Pictures, numbers, texts. How can we integrate it to create the meaning by which we can answer our research question? Then interpret the data, and at last inform the others. Here in the center, there is a theory. Theory in a qualitative study could be used a priori, or it could be used to ascertain the stance of the researcher or the standpoint, or towards the end in order to the findings in order to explain it with respect to the theories. And it is a process. That's why we call it as a qualitative research process. In a quantitative study, after selecting the topic, we go to going down to the research question. We test a framework which we have developed from the literature review. It could be maybe you are trying to explain why do consumers save electrical energy. And I'm trying to use the theory of planned behavior to explain this. So I have the construct theory, the theory of planned behavior, the various constructs of it, and I try to formate a research question and try to develop an instrument, collect the data, and test the data on using a quantitative study. Here, the data is numbers, and hence it is you can use statistical tests in order to test this whether there is a difference between between maybe lower age group consumers and higher age group consumers as regards to saving of electricity energy. Here also, theory forms an underpinning. In both the studies, we have seen the theory forms a major role in research. Theory could be previous studies, which you need to critically analyze in order to study the research question at hand. Now, there could be an argument. Sometimes students ask me, is it possible to study without a theory? It's very, very rarely possible that you come across a study where there are no prior studies which tries to explain it. So we come to end towards this module.